bracken fern, tansy, orange hawkweed, knapweed. These are the noxious weeds that plague our land. This is their story.
When we first came to see this property just over a year ago, one of the first things I noticed, other than the spectacular views, was the dense stands of bracken fern and tansy. Huge amounts of it in the area that would be our pasture. One of the most popular permaculture principles is the problem is the solution. So I identified the problem. The problem is the pasture area is overrun with noxious weeds, bracken fern and tansy. The solution in my mind at the time was goats. It's not that I have a tremendous excess of bracken fern, a bracken fern problem. I have a deficiency in goats. Perfect example of the problem is the solution. The problem, the ferns, the solution, the goats come in. The goats would eat all the fern. I'd be rid of the fern and the goats would be fed. The problem is the solution. So I decided to do some researching to see if I could verify my hypothesis. And what I came to find was that bracken fern is highly toxic to livestock, especially ruminants. It will cause blindness in sheep, it'll kill cattle, it'll kill goats, kill pigs. And not only is it toxic to livestock, it's also believed to be carcinogenic in humans. It was proven to be carcinogenic in lab studies of rodents. The bracken fern produces a poison known as tequilicide. The tequilicide is all throughout the plant, but it's also in the spores, which are emitted into the air by the millions per plant. We breathe those spores in, or the animals ingest them, we ingest them, and over time can get sick from them. The tansy is similar to the fern in that it is problematic for livestock consumption. So my idea, the problem is the solution with solving this issue of the noxious weeds with the goats, was not a viable solution. Chemical control was out of the question. Many people have recommended, just hit it with some Roundup, that'll take care of it. Using glyphosate or any other persistent herbicide is not consistent with the permaculture ethics of care of the earth or care of people. They're toxic to humans, toxic to everything in the soil. So chemicals, out of the question. The next thing that came to mind was fire. I thought, do a controlled burn of the whole field. The problem with that though is the first species to reemerge after a fire is the bracken fern. Ferns have a very, very strong, aggressive rhizome layer beneath the soil that is unaffected by the fire, so they're able to regenerate very quickly after the fire. So fire was out of the question. So I began to dig deeper and deeper. There wasn't much information on this online, but I did stumble across an old newspaper article. To give you an idea of the scale of it, this is measured in acres, not in square feet. Our property is a total of 10 acres. These trees right here are growing along a seasonal creek. That creek right there just about subdivides the property into 2 5-acre parcels. There is a large portion of the weeds on this side, but it's an equal amount on the other side of the trees. So the only practical approach to this was to use a brush hog or similar device. Early last fall, I borrowed my dad's tractor and I took it to an implement store and rented a brush hog, rented a trailer. It was an expensive ordeal, and it was very time consuming cobbling together all the components I needed to in order to make this work. I didn't have a tractor, didn't have a trailer, didn't have a truck at the time to pull it, didn't have a brush hog, so I had to piece all this stuff together, get the equipment up here, and do the job. was able to clear this entire half of the property here of the tansy and the bracken fern, and it looks so much better. But I knew come spring it's just gonna come right back again. And I didn't have the means to continually keep it cut back as the article suggested. We were still living a good ways away in our rental property. We hadn't even begun the construction on the addition to the house by that point. But I was so desperate to do something, anything to help fight the problem I have here. So early spring, just after the snow melt, I made a largely fruitless attempt to overseed this whole area with cover crops. So here we are in mid-March, and as you can see, the snow has thawed. So I'm going to take this opportunity to put down some cover crops in an attempt to outcompete the ferns and tansy. We'll see how that goes. So I got 100 pounds of oats, vetch, and field peas. All right, give it a push. No? How's that one working for you, buddy? Is that better for you? Okay, you gotta walk with it. Keep moving. There you go. So we got all of our seed down in a pretty sizable area.
Yes.
You did a good job. Oh, you still got some left in there. Spray it out. Yeah. I did get some purple vetch that came up and is still here. And the pea shoots took off decent. But this really did little to nothing to help control anything. I just thought, well, maybe if I put some cover crop down, it can compete with the bracken fern and tansy. Just give it some competition, maybe shade some of it out, do something. And I knew deep down it wouldn't work, and it didn't. The only benefit from it was the purple vetch and a little bit of the peas that did come up. The sheep seemed to enjoy them because they're a higher source of protein. So the long-term plan is basically just to use a mechanical control, keeping the weeds down, thus weakened. So using a mechanical control is really the best solution here. I don't want to cut it back and then just throw the livestock on it and let them revitalize the soil, because I don't want to run the risk of them eating the new shoots as they're emerging out of the ground. So putting the ruminants on it is not a good solution. Just keeping it cut back manually and manually amending the soil, it's going to disadvantage the noxious weeds and allow the grass and other more preferable forage to come up. So for this year, instead of cobbling together a tractor, a trailer, a brush hog, and spending all this time and money on getting the equipment here, I decided that I would try and just hire somebody that has all the equipment that can just bring it here and knock it out real quick. But I did find one guy that's willing to do it manually. He's coming here in 4 days with a 3-foot sickle mower, and he's gonna take care of this. A really fun aspect of shepherding is getting to collect fecal samples. As the boys were eating their alfalfa this morning, I was walking around their new paddock, checking their fresh manure to see if there's any improvements with the worms. I did notice that there was some improvement in that it wasn't just full of creepy crawly worms, but I did still see some evidence that there were some worms in their feces. So I gloved up and grabbed some of it, threw it in a plastic Ziploc bag. I'm gonna have it sent off for testing just to find out exactly what we're dealing with here. It appears to be consistent with what I've seen online of pictures of tapeworms, but I just want to send it off, have it checked out, and see what I'm dealing with for sure.
taped, double bagged, ice pack, boxed, ready to go.